I would estimate that about 70% of the code I write right now is written by AI.
One piece of advice for engineers.
I feel if you are like shallow and you do not have deep conceptual like knowledge, you cannot be a good engineer.
I think I've seen a lot of new features coming up, a lot of features getting revamped.
We take no shame in saying this, right? We launch some features, we learn from it. And it doesn't work out. So we remove it. Like the collaborative articles product I talked about earlier has actually been sunset. But we do learn from the experience.
A hiring assistant that was recently launched by LinkedIn. I believe this is going to change the way recruiters look at candidates.
We see that recruiters are viewing 60% fewer profiles before they are able to find
How the job market is going to change when it comes to all the insights that you have.
AI and AI skills in general are going to become very horizontal in nature and a part of everyone's jobs and honestly everyone's lives. Which is why I hate this term vibe coding. I know it's very popular right now. It's almost like I'll throw something at the wall and whatever sticks, sticks. No, without infusing your own sense of uniqueness or originality into that application, you don't stand out. You are just the same as anyone else, and unless you stand out, why will you be considered?
Hi everyone, today I have with me Karthik, who is a distinguished engineer at LinkedIn, and I'm going to understand about his journey, about his technical expertise, as well as what has LinkedIn been doing in this particular space of AI. This is going to be a very interesting conversation. I'm going to learn a lot, and in the meantime, you will be learning a lot from Karthik. So Karthik, welcome to my channel.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've seen your profile, your achievements, like they speak a lot about what you have been doing and you have done in the past couple of years. But you are now as a distinguished engineer at LinkedIn, right? You would have started as a normal engineer, and a lot of my audience is those who are in their early careers. So any piece of advice for them, as in you can take us back to your engineering days, or you can take us back to your career start, how it was, how different it is from people right now, and anything you want to share.
Sure. So firstly, distinguished engineers are very normal too.
Okay.
So I started off my career at DE Shaw in Hyderabad. I was working on statistical arbitrage systems. After that, I did a bit of high frequency trading, then institutional brokerage. After about 3 years, I wasn't too happy with the domain and I wanted to do like mobile development. The only company which would offer me a job without prior experience in like mobile development was a startup. So I joined a startup called like Mass 360, which was into mobile device management. Worked there for 2 years, did iOS, Android, BlackBerry and Windows Phone. Yes, I know we don't talk about those right now, but I did that back then. Programming, and after 2 years, the company got acquired by IBM. And then I worked for IBM for a few months, and after that I ended up moving to LinkedIn. I joined LinkedIn as a mobile engineer, primarily given my background in like mobile in the prior job. But after about 2 years of doing mobile, I started doing backend systems. Then I've switched between infrastructure and product, and for the past 3 years or so, I've been working on generative AI systems. In general, career-wise, I feel that when you start, you don't know like what to do, you don't know how to do things. Somebody's telling you the what and the how. Eventually, you figure out the how. After that, you get a point where you are telling others how to do things. Then you define what to do and how to do. And finally, you get to a point of strategy and influence where you are defining the what strategically and also explaining the why. And you get into a point where you are translating abstract business problems into technology problems and using your skills as an engineer to solve them to create business impact.
So basically, engineers are the ones who are basically problem solvers. That's the one word that defines them. And I think throughout your entire journey, you have been doing at some point of time, be it your interest in Android or iOS development, then moving on to product, strategy, and now generative AI, right? The space has changed a lot, right? If at all there's somebody who is passing out this year, right? He has so many tools to learn from. He has so much resources. I believe at your time there would be limited resources or limited references that you could have used to understand, to study. But now the space is changing at a very, very fast pace. We'll talk about it later in this conversation. But now you are at that position where you are a decision maker at some very, very influential decisions, right? How do you think like your technical expertise as well as your technical leadership shape the vision or shape the future of what LinkedIn has been doing? Any specific example if you can quote? I think that would be very, very relatable from the architecture or anything that you would want to share.
Sure. I can actually take two examples, and the first leads into the second. So LinkedIn used to use REST for inter-service communication. We had this framework called as RESTly, which was built at LinkedIn. It was growing quite long in the tooth, and I was part of a group which said that, hey, we need to move off this to gRPC, which is like an open source modern framework. We were primarily a Java-based shop. This enabled multi-language support as we started adopting other languages, and it also enabled streaming. And this was actually the key to unlocking a lot of the productivity when we started building these generative AI applications, because firstly, most of the stack is in like Python, where gRPC offers very good support. And secondly, to hide LLM latency from users, streaming is actually a very common technique where you incrementally stream responses, and this capability quite worked out. And also the experience of orchestrating a large-scale migration, in addition to proposing just a technology change, gives you certain soft skills which are needed in addition to hard like technical skills to be successful in like this kind of a role at a company like LinkedIn.
Yeah, perfect. I think that sums up a lot about what you have been doing. Coming up on to LinkedIn as a platform, right? I am one of the users. I've been using it from past 4-5 years and very consistently would be posting around 5-6 posts a day.
Wow, thank you.
And now it's like it's a platform used by 1 billion people. Now that comes with a lot of responsibility, and you are the tech behind what people are seeing. So there's a balance, right? We need to have reliability so that we are reliable, and the space is changing very fast. We need to innovate. So how do you see LinkedIn making that balance when it comes to innovation versus reliability?
Sure. So I think reliability as well as associated things like security, safety, privacy, compliance, etc. are non like negotiable. They are absolute stakeholders, and we have to stand by it. But it is quite a misnomer to think that innovation cannot happen while keeping all these in check. So the way we generally like to do this is we like to encourage teams to build small prototypes. These prototypes are often internal in nature, so we get a sense of the idea. And after that, it gets productionized. And as a part of productionization, we take all these factors into account. Like generative AI is actually a classic example. Initially, when the models came out, we were like, wow, these models can do so much. But after that, we built a bunch of prototypes, lightweight internal prototypes, to try to get a sense of what can they do. Then we launched our first product, which was actually collaborative articles, where what would happen is that the AI would generate a baseline article based on a topic, and we would distribute it to people who were skilled in that topic and expect them to contribute. Now, the product was very like limited, but intentionally so that we would start with a smaller scale, we would gradually learn and build upon it, etc. But more importantly, it played to our unique strengths, where we are this repository of information about skills and having this rich knowledge base of individuals who are experienced in these skills, and a product which uniquely connects to that, right? We did not want to build a product just because we could. So it has to be this intersection of solving a real member or customer problem, right? As well as being innovative, exciting, and satisfying all those baseline constraints I talked about earlier.
Yeah, I think majorly what would define or what would sum up all these things is the impact that you're bringing to the community or the kind of people who use a platform like LinkedIn. So during our conversation, like you spoke about AI, right? And that's been the trend. Every company wants to position themselves as AI first, AI native. So when it comes to LinkedIn, right, what is LinkedIn's AI strategy?
So LinkedIn has a 3-pronged AI strategy right now on the product side. But before we get to that, LinkedIn is not new to AI. We've been doing AI from a very long time. In fact, one of the first features which I used on LinkedIn when I joined LinkedIn around 2011 as a user was this feature which is called as PYMK, or People You May Know. It's essentially friend suggestions. It's one of the first big user visible AI features which we launched. But after that, AI is infused into almost all aspects of our product. But in recent years, the advances in AI have informed this new strategy which I'm talking to you about. And to be clear, these are just three main pillars. We have AI, and we continue to use AI in other areas as well. So the first is AI agents, which you've seen me talk about quite a bit, primarily focused on automating jobs to be done and ensuring that we delegate the resource-intensive, time-consuming work to AI and let humans focus on strategic aspects of their job. We announced Hiring Assistant, which is an agent for recruiters. We have other agents in the pipeline. The second aspect is applying the advances in the latest AI models and the associated data infrastructure to recommendation systems. Right? And the third one is applying it to search, making search more semantic.
Yeah.
Now, you may say that, hey, just take an LLM and throw it at all these problems and it'll work. Well, actually, it doesn't from a quality, scale, or a latency perspective. So it requires a significant amount of engineering work to actually be able to deliver these experiences at the scale and at the quality we would feel comfortable doing it, which is why this is a slow journey. But over the next year or so, you should see your LinkedIn experience change quite a bit as these products come to life.
I think I've seen a lot of experimentations being done from the past 3-4 years. I have seen a lot of new features coming up, a lot of features getting revamped. So I think I have experienced it firsthand, and with AI coming up and a lot of new things at LinkedIn, some more things making the end users experiences
well, revamped and removed as well.
Yeah.
We take no shame in saying this, right? We launch some features,
Yeah.
we learn from it, and it doesn't work out. So we remove it. Like the collaborative articles product I talked about earlier has actually been sunset. But we do learn from the experience, and that learning of living through a launched product, listening to our members and customers to talk about it is way better than armchair theory.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's like we need to incorporate the feedback, whatever we are getting, and understand and then implement it immediately. That's how companies are run nowadays. Also, LinkedIn is a product which is very close to recruiters, job seekers, right? You are at the core. You have been learning a lot about product. You have been talking to engineering teams, right? And there's in the market, there's a sense of fear on how jobs would change, how this market would change. Anything, any early insights, anything you want to share with people on how the job market is going to change when it comes to all the insights that you have?
So I think it is really hard to speculate at this point in time about specific changes. But the one thing which I can predict will happen is that AI and AI skills in general are going to become very horizontal in nature and a part of everyone's jobs and honestly everyone's lives. If you look at a revolution which happened 70s, 80s, and maybe even into the 90s in India, people went from using pen and paper to using computers for information processing. I feel that we will go through a similar journey with AI as well, where it will not be like, hey, do you have this particular AI skill? It will be more like, hey, can you use AI to do your job better, faster, more efficiently?
Do you think there would be more AI generalists or more people into deep tech AI? Or we need a balance of both?
I think you need a balance of both.
We should have equal number of people who know how to use AI, whereas people who are researching upon AI, building AI. So there should be a balance.
Yeah, there has to be a balance. And I think in order for us to responsibly develop AI, there has to be a qualified group of individuals who can understand and explain how the AI system works. Explainability is critical.
Yeah, definitely. I was going through one of your talks where you're talking about a hiring assistant that was recently launched by LinkedIn. I think it's been 1 year that you have been testing, and now it's public for people to use. And I was very fascinated, right? I believe this is going to change the way recruiters look at candidates, and it's going to reduce a lot of time that is spent on hiring a candidate, right? Can you tell us more about what that hiring assistant is? What was the initial thought process when you started working upon something like that, and how has been the journey till now?
Actually, when we think of recruiters' jobs, right, there are multiple aspects of the job. The first aspect is figuring out what are you hiring for, which is literally coming up with the job description. Now, this job has some interesting aspects where the recruiter adds their own flair, but a lot of it is just baseline requirements of the company. This is the location I am hiring for, these are the skills which I'm looking for, etc. Some of it is also repetitive because you keep hiring a large number of people for a similar kind of role, right? After that, you have to look at profiles, you have to source people, you have to do outreach to them, etc. But I think the real skill of a recruiter from a strategy perspective is identifying these things, conversing with candidates, providing them a great candidate experience. But in addition to doing that, they have to do all of these time-consuming things in order to get there.
100%.
So our job was to ensure that we empower recruiters with a tool which frees them from the drudgery of some of these time-consuming jobs, allows them to delegate those to the AI, while still being in control, because ultimately they are responsible for the, the quality of the candidate experience, and allows them to focus on these higher level strategic aspects. So that was like the product positioning. Now, to launch such an ambitious product like this, which users want, there is only so much we can predict. So on the basis of these predictions, we built an initial version and we launched it to a select group of charter customers in October 2024. So over the course of almost a year, as these customers have used the product, they have given us a lot of feedback, and we have also learned from their usage about how are they using the product, how should we rethink the UX. For example, we had a heavy background workload based UX because we thought, similar to a regular recruiting job, how it works, hiring manager goes to the recruiter, says, hey, find me people. Recruiter disappears, works in the background, comes back with a list of people. We thought it'll be okay here. No, turns out people have very different expectations from computers, even if they're doing the same job. They want to be actively informed about what's going on. They want the ability to control and correct it in real time almost. So we pivoted to a conversational interface, a synchronous interface, something which provides active feedback about what is going on to instill a sense of trust. Right, in the recruiters as to this is what this system is doing. We also got a bunch of feedback about latency. We got a bunch of feedback about quality, about personalization. So we've invested in cognitive like memory to enable personalization, to enable a good experience even for recruiters who haven't used the product before, by looking at their signals, right, from their own profile or from their activity in other parts of LinkedIn, where we can get a sense of what are they doing, and can we start them off with a better experience. So all of this has resulted in a product which we felt comfortable and honestly proud to take to general availability in English. And the statistics are pretty telling, right? We see that recruiters are viewing about 60% fewer profiles before they are able to find candidates. And the qualitative feedback from a lot of our customers is that the agent is able to surface candidates to them which they otherwise wouldn't have looked at through their regular searches. So there is a quantitative aspect and also a qualitative aspect about how does it feel. Right.
And how is this experience going to change for the users or somebody who's applying for a job? What should he take care of when it comes to being positioned in a way that he is visible to that hiring assistant, or he gets that kind of opportunity that he or she deserves?
So I think we require people to be their authentic self, right? We do not want people to be gaming the system, because in general, we do not want the AI to be gameable, right? We want the AI to take decisions as a responsible human recruiter would. But what I would say is, in general, in order to stand out in what is a very competitive job market, I would focus on skills. So increasingly, we are seeing a shift to skills-based hiring as opposed to traditional hiring, which looked at specific qualifications, etc. Not to say that those aren't important, but invest in tangible skills, highlight it in your profile, focus on real-world experiences which you have had, right? Even if you haven't worked before, you're a fresher looking for a job, you can maybe mention college projects you did or internship projects you did. People want tangible evidence of real world skills as opposed to theoretical knowledge increasingly. So anything you can do to showcase that would be great. And of course, AI literacy, AI skills would be a huge plus in like today's market.
And do you think this would reduce the false positives, as in somebody faking out a resume? Would that be done, or AI will be taking those decisions? How would that work?
So it's hard for me to predict
Predict.
about how this would go, but all I can say is that the technological pieces needed to make it happen can be built. Right now, how effective will they be? Humans versus AI at like detecting this nuance, because AI is also a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
The same technology can be used to fake things, and
Yeah.
you have to use the same
100%.
technology to detect. So it's like a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays
In
out.
fact, I read somewhere, I think on Twitter, like people are applying for jobs, the entire cover letter and CV is written using AI. Recruiters are filtering out people again using AI, but nobody's getting hired. JD is prepared using AI. All three things are done using AI, but actual hiring decisions are not being made. So that's the latency I think this is gonna solve at some point of
So
time.
I think it's quite excessive to say that nobody is getting hired. People are getting hired, but
Yeah.
I would like to acknowledge that this is a very tough job market. I wouldn't say it's wrong to use AI to do these things. AI
Yeah.
is just a tool. But if you use the AI blindly without infusing your own sense of uniqueness or originality into that application, you don't stand out.
Yeah.
You are just the same as anyone else, and unless you stand out, why will you be considered?
Yeah, and for somebody who is very fresh to the system, as in who's just passed out of college, right? He might not have very specific skill set, but a very generic skill set like problem solving, or he would be good at data structural algorithms. Do you think, because what we have been seeing, there have been a lot of news like the fresher market is going to be impacted because the work that people with 0 to 2 years of experience or 3 years of experience can be easily replicated by AI when it comes to software engineering. How do you see the fresher market changing when it comes to jobs? Like any insights on that?
See, I think it is rather myopic to say that certain kinds of jobs can be fully automated, at least from what I am seeing for software engineering jobs, since we're talking about data structures, algorithms, etc. I don't see these jobs being fully automated away by AI. Large components of it, yes. Full automation, no. Also, senior engineers don't emerge overnight.
Yeah.
It is a junior
Engineer who
engineer who, through
becomes
years of experience, lived experience, grows to become a senior
senior
engineer.
engineer, yeah.
You cannot teach certain things, they have to be
100%.
learned through experience, right?
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things I would say is people tend to fall into this pitfall of saying, I will just focus on functional completeness. I will use these tools. I won't understand, I won't have a deep conceptual understanding of how things work. I will just build and I will like launch something and boom, I'm done. No,
Yeah.
you're actually hurting yourself, because you have to ideally use these tools as a crutch to learn and build a solid, deep foundational understanding of concepts yourself. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because A, you don't have any unique skills. B, as these tools grow smarter, the chances of them actually replacing you increase. And C, these tools can often like lull you into a false sense of security, patronize you giving wrong answers.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing, then like
It's
you can be easily fooled. Which is why I hate this term vibe coding. I know it's very popular right now. It's almost like I'll throw something at the wall and whatever sticks,
It'll come.
sticks.
Yeah.
No. I feel as an engineer, as a software engineer, you should use an AI assistant to generate code or automate something for you only to save yourself the time of doing the work. But you should absolutely know how to do it.
Yeah,
If you're
100%.
using it without knowing how to do it, you're doing yourself a disservice.
100%. So I think the thinking capabilities are also reducing at the same point of time. People don't know the fundamentals and they just give the prompt and they expect the full thing to be done for themselves. I think LinkedIn's Bangalore center has been growing at a very fast pace. It's like 2,000 folks right now,
Yes.
right? How do you see Bangalore's center playing its part when it comes to the entire engineering story at LinkedIn that you have been weaving? And how do you think it's going to lead LinkedIn to, again, a new AI first future?
Sure. So actually, like Bangalore is our second largest engineering center outside of Silicon Valley. So we have a lot of really good like talent here. We have teams spread across product engineering, which is the org I belong to, from the ad side, from the sales side, from the talent solutions side. We also have some enterprise productivity teams here, as well as core infrastructure teams here. The core infrastructure teams actually contribute to key pieces of our AI strategy, For example, the vector database, which powers most of our embedding-based retrieval stacks, is built in Bangalore. The core source of truth database for the LinkedIn feed is built in Bangalore. And the trust review agents, which help ensure content safety on LinkedIn, is also built out of Bangalore. So a lot of cool products are being built here.
Built in Bangalore for the world.
Built in Bangalore for the world, yes.
So now I have some quick questions, some takes on maybe what's your opinion on a few things. Let's start with the first question, which is your favorite programming language in 2025 and why?
I've been programming a lot in like Rust recently.
Okay.
The language is advancing quite a bit. New features keep getting added. I really like it because you do not have to compromise on, like safety to get performance anymore.
Yeah.
Especially, like memory safety, which is one of the common pitfalls with using lower level languages.
Very true. In fact, I have also been using Rust a lot lately and seen the difference. We have been talking about AI tools, right? Which is one AI tool that you feel has helped you increase your productivity?
Right here,
How is
GitHub
it?
Copilot. I love to use GitHub Copilot. It's integrated into the IDEs. So LinkedIn is still a Java-based shop, like heavily Java-based shop. We do have other languages as well, like a bunch of the AI stuff is like Python.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I am in a Java code base. And in IntelliJ, GitHub Copilot is right there, and it helps accelerate my development process for me. I would estimate that about 70% of the code I write right now is written by AI.
Okay. One underrated technology that you feel it's in 2025?
I think the input via like voice as a like modality, which is slowly emerging, especially for these AI apps, I feel is quite underrated. I feel it can really democratize access to software way more. I feel like UX has gone through these transitions, right? Where input as a paradigm has evolved from punch cards to keyboard terminals to GUIs to like touch screens. I feel that voice and the ability to express yourself in your own dialect, in your own vernacular, in like natural language is just the next evolution.
In fact, I have also seen a lot of startups coming up building voice agents, and things are changing at a very fast pace. We might see a lot of things happening in the coming 2 years is what I see.
So actually, when I drive to work, one of the things I've started doing very recently is having active conversations with an AI agent of my choice, primarily from a like knowledge seeking perspective. I ask it a question, it gives me an answer, ask it back. It's just like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like talking to an agent. It feels very, very natural, except for the time it hallucinates and reminds me that it is an AI agent and not a human.
Yeah. One piece of advice for engineers who are building at scale.
The piece of advice is always be sound in your fundamentals and be able to explain the systems you're building to a great degree of depth. I feel if you are like shallow and you do not have deep conceptual like knowledge, you cannot be a good engineer.
100%.
It will come back to bite you.
100%. I totally agree to this point. One thing, like everyone is fighting and people are calling it as an AI race. Who is going to win?
So I wouldn't even characterize it as a race. I feel that if AI lives up to its potential and we build it and deploy it like safely, all of humanity will like benefit.
Definitely.
I feel it's going to be something as powerful as the industrial revolution or electricity. It's going to supercharge the way we process information, do our work, and live our lives in general. So I don't even want to call this a race.
Perfect. I think you have been at LinkedIn for more than 10 years now, right? What's something that keeps you motivated every time? What's something that excites you? And how do you see the new engineers joining LinkedIn, and how can they get an opportunity here?
Sure. So I've been with LinkedIn for almost 11 years.
11 years.
And although I've been here for 11 years, I feel I've done a lot of different jobs. So what keeps me here is the ability to learn new things continuously, and also the culture of the company, right? We believe in being like members first, which means that we just don't build stuff because we can. It has to solve a problem, and we take the needs of the member very, very seriously whenever we build anything. So that's one thing. The other thing is we have a very open, transparent culture. There are very few like secrets within the company. A lot of information is pretty public, right? All of our leaders are extremely accessible. So it's quite good that way. In terms of challenges for new engineers joining, see, I feel like LinkedIn is like sitting on this treasure trove of data. We call it the economic graph.
Yeah.
It's like the connection between our LinkedIn members, companies,
Recruiters,
jobs, all the
everyone.
other entities which you see on LinkedIn. And with AI especially, I feel we have the ability to derive insights of this data, build great experiences atop this data. Of course, in a privacy preserving, compliant way to unlock the sort of next set of like value added experiences for our users. And if you look at our product strategy, our infrastructure strategy, and challenges for engineers to be able to do this at scale, it is a pretty tantalizing problem space.
Definitely. I think that sums up a lot about engineering at LinkedIn, about Karthik's journey. And I am personally inspired a lot because I have been a user of LinkedIn, and talking to somebody who has been shaping that entire experience for past 11 years. So it was very, very inspirational for me. And I feel whoever is watching this video, you should definitely check out his profile, and you should check out careers at LinkedIn for understanding on what values LinkedIn stand for and what the engineering looks like at LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Karthik. It was lovely, fun talking to you, and looking forward to meeting you sometime soon.
Sure, thank you.